Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. All right, welcome Nick. Welcome guys to the Week in Italian Startup.
Ciao Jack, hello everybody, welcome back. How are things, Jack?
It's good. Some things are picking up actually. With the January that was a little bit slow, then we start seeing something extremely cool and interesting. So let's get going.
Disappointed by January.
Disappointing.
Hopefully with February more things will come up. So the week. So the next one seems quite interesting coming up, and the last one, the one we are going to talk about, is not too bad. So,
awesome.
Here we go.
Let's start. All right. The biggest deal of last week is Tau Group raising 9 million euros in a Series B round led by Solvay Ventures. So, Nick, I really find a lot of interesting bits in this deal, which I thought were particularly interesting. So, first of all, for the viewers or the listener, Tau Group essentially is, I think, operating in a very interesting niche, industrial niche. So they're manufacturing essentially copper and aluminum wiring for e-mobility. Essentially, they took a very specific and unique and core element of the electrification space, and they're going extremely deep into that space. So I thought, first of all, the business model was particularly interesting. There are a few other elements which I thought were particularly also cool, which are, first of all, the focus on the high performance. So essentially what they want to do is not just build the wiring, but really do what is the best wiring for electric motors. And I thought that was very, very, precise and focused work. So that definitely plays in your favor. And the second part, they're also adding to the mix an interesting element of sustainability. So what they're trying to do is the carbon neutrality manufacturing and working essentially on that problem. So combining all these three elements, that really makes Tau a very interesting deal overall, I would say. So I thought it was particularly cool, and definitely like very, very well thought and interesting company. What is your take on that?
No, I agree with you. This is, of course, something that's not in my day-by-day operations. That's not a vertical that I'm expert of any. But I agree with you. The take is very interesting. So both on the new materials or new production processes and sustainability is a perfect mix nowadays. And about the company, it's not only an Italian company, it's by country, dual country, Italy and Germany, which makes sense because we are the two biggest probably European manufacturing countries and strong in the automotive sector. And the other interesting bit is about the investors. So we have in the cap table, the startup has an investment arm of ArcelorMittal steel. That's another interesting bit. So they know about metals, and there's an interesting diversification into something that can be interesting for their own future. And on top of that, I come from software digital, right? So I tend to think in terms of scalability, distribution, all the nice perks of software. This is very industrial. So we're talking about a hard technology entering into a final product that's very complex, and seeing a component being object of venture investment is interesting. It's unusual from my point of view, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I would define it like a sort of a second order investments in VC. So as the first order being like, investing directly in companies working in a very specific vertical directly. This is a kind of an indirect way to enter the electrification space by playing into the supplier. So if we take back the old metaphor, you should sell shovel and not dig for gold during a gold rush. These guys are basically investing into the manufacture of the shovels. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. Nice play.
The other elements, which Nick, I have a very sweet spot, is about the CVC elements, like ArcelorMittal you were mentioning, but also Solvay Venture, which is unusual. We never seen it. I didn't know the existence. So I knew the existence of Solvay. Solvay is a multinational Belgian-French company whose revenue is about 4 billion a year, roughly. And they work in the chemical space across different like elements. And since 2005, imagine, they had their venture arm active with a very interesting structure. So they decided to essentially not invest through like off balance sheet, but they built an evergreen fund. So that's pretty unique and definitely worth mentioning because again, evergreen funds in general are not as popular, but corporate VC that build an evergreen fund, it's even like less popular, but definitely an interesting model to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and back to my comment before, the fact that the investors are basically CVCs or corporate spin-off investing in startups, it tells something about the type of startup that's raising capital. So there are no traditional VCs there. So it says something about I don't know, the expectation, the type of business, the time frame looking ahead that they have on these investments. So, awesome. I mean, there's something different here. So.
Lovely. Let's keep an eye. All right, moving on. FTNet marketplace startup specializing in the pharma sector raising 3 million euro from private investors. So this deal also was definitely one of the big for last week. Essentially what they're trying to do is connecting essentially like pharmaceutical shops with the manufacturing company through the digital sort of arena. So that's also like an interesting B2B play, I would say, but definitely like a nice raise for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I only know about the startup what you can read from the website. So I mean, there's something there having to do with the traditional way pharma companies basically market their product to pharmacies in a sense, right? So people with a suitcase traveling around and presenting products and checking the stock and talking to customers. So there is something there in digitalizing this type of relationship. We'll see how it plays out. But that's something, it tells something about another market that's been attacked by software in a sense. Right?
Right, moving on. Harg, silver tech startup raising 2.5 million from CDP VC, All Impact, Etica SGR, and other investor. So silver tech also has been quite on the move, I would say, in the past couple of years. This company in particular, they're essentially manufacturing basically food, texturized food essentially for people with essentially like eating problems. So they're really like it's a very specific niche. It's very, very helpful because it doesn't only tackle the sort of the elderly side of the market, but also other maybe like people that have a different medical condition, of course. And what is interesting is that basically it's not only about silver tech, it's also of course about impact investing. And a lot of the investors are some of the big players into the impact space in Italy. So definitely like very interesting to see them move and actually allocate capital.
Yeah. Agree. Not much to add here other than silver tech is an important market in Italy. We are an aging country. That means that we will need eventually this type of products and support. So good to know that they've been invested and they are growing to the entire country. And from another point of view, being a pioneer in terms of being an old country, that means that we have a potential advantage in developing and having the capability of developing good products before the others. So
interesting. Very interesting.
In a sense, we have some kind of advantage here that we should average on.
It's a super interesting take because usually, aging population is always seen as something bad in some ways or another. But when you look through the lenses of tech, that's actually a very good, very interesting point. It's a good opportunity to actually develop something meaningful for a new wave of like a customer. Very interesting for sure.
Exactly. You've got a country where there is a lot of demand in the short term, and you know that if you can meet that demand, other countries will follow inevitably. So you got a bigger market ahead of you if you build a good product. So that's a nice opportunity in a sense.
Great. So talking about another sector that's been disrupted by digital is sales. So sales is probably one of the first segment that has been implementing digital solutions overall. Superlayer, in this case, from newsletter. A London-based startup funded by Italian entrepreneurs that raised 1.3 million in a pre-seed round. So essentially, they're trying to optimize the sales process and essentially the funneling of customers and the interaction of CRM by also adding productivity tool and coaching tool to the salespeople. So a few companies have, starting from sales for down, have been trying to successfully or less successfully trying to tackle the sales, the agent sort of problem. And tools are extremely abundant. I really enjoyed the take that they are taking, which is essentially combining a lot of, the funnel, the productivity tool, and then the co-working experience with other members of the sales team. So definitely interesting company.
Yep, agree. A good team on paper with a very nice investor group entering to the pre-seed. So there are big names there. There's Exor, that's a few scout funds from bigger firms. So the deal looks interesting. And I agree with you, sales tech in the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years, has become a new very interesting market. I was looking at the chart and at the comparison between two charts a few months back. One was Martech, and it was a huge map full of logos operating a lot of verticals. And the other was sales tech. Sales tech was very, very sparse, much smaller. So the impression that you take from looking at those charts is, Martech has a lot of competition and players, and it's a better understood problem by digital offering, and sales tech still not so much. So it's interesting to see these type of startups being, operating down by the pipeline support system for the US. So I'm
fantastic.
I like the vertical. We made an investment in this vertical with a company ventures fund.
Interesting.
So I personally think it's a very interesting vertical. So
awesome.
Sales operations is gonna be disrupted by digital stuff, not only marketing.
Yeah, I mean, sales are tough. That's a real problem, and there is a real pain point right there. Both in terms of finding experts that can actually lead the sales and lead the sales team, and enabling people to actually be effective salespeople, which is a very tough skill actually, and not obvious for sure.
I agree. There is a lot of room for improving effectiveness and efficiency of salespeople. That's not digital. In this case, I don't believe digital is going to take away the salesperson. It's going to make the person much more effective, much better in what they do. And I'm a strong believer in the huge improvement that can happen here.
Awesome. All right, moving on. Wora, same-day delivery startup raising 600K from YAG, Club degli Investitori, and other business angel. Okay, this is a little bit, I found it a little bit odd because the same-day space has been like sort of, under bombing in a way from, other companies kind of retreating from markets and a lot of uncertainty. So That was interesting to actually see that some people are still betting on companies. But what it was cool, I thought it was the angle that these guys are taking, which are really pushing the booking part of it. So it's delivery, yes. It's same day delivery, yes. But there is also like a very strong digital element that actually wants to make this thing extremely efficient. So maybe that's the way to crack this aspect.
Yeah, I agree with your initial point in particular about a lot of people coming out of the market, but a lot of people are leaving the market where they were trying to sell a product based on same-day delivery. Doesn't mean necessarily, and this is my humble opinion, that same-day delivery doesn't work. And that's probably the thesis behind Wora. That's not about thinking about we wanna sell something same day and build up a same day delivery infrastructure to prove that there is a demand for that type of item, be it groceries or dog food or whatever. But probably there is a demand for same day delivery of items. So the basically of Wora is, let me sell the technology to those players that can benefit from having the same day delivery service on their offering, basically. Fashion, consumer durable goods, whatever, I don't know. So that's basically the starting point. Same day delivery as a service, call it that way. I love the cybersecurity vertical. And at the end of the day, Sababa is a startup. It was launched, I believe, in 2019, then public in 2021. Not a huge market capitalization. It was just south of 30 million euros, I believe, and today, HWG, that I believe is a part of Investori, is bidding to take in private. It's a very fast cycle in a sense. So this is a very interesting piece of news in a sense. In a very hot vertical, and again, this is an Italian company, so European company, and I believe there is a strong interest into European products, and I can see why it's already part of aggregation and consolidation, because there is value going forward over there. So I'm really amused that players are moving early in order to acquire good technology, good products, and customers to start building an extended offering.
Awesome. Nice. All right.
The fun bits that surprise me. I'm no expert in public companies, but the tender offer is at 3.9 per share, right, from the announcement. And currently, Sababa Security is trading at 3.95. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit too close. A little bit too.
But I wonder. I mean, again, this is an open question,
right?
Investment advice or whatever. So I probably the tender offer will go through, because if I read the announcement right, they have an agreement with the management and main shareholders. So this is only about the floating capital.
Yeah.
But if you know that they're gonna receive 3.9 per share, why would you buy a 3.95 per share?
No, good point. Definitely.
A stupid question. If anybody has a good answer, then let me know, because
awesome.
I would love.
All right, a few mentions to conclude the session today. So Q4 in Italian Startup by Mattia Moscarelli and Ubaldo Mafrecci is out. We'll definitely try to connect with them just to maybe get some insights. I thought it was definitely a very good wrap-up. So basically confirming a lot that has been happening, a little bit of the cooling off of the market. Milan remains pretty much the startup funding capital of Italy. So a very few interesting wrap-up insights. So I thought it was very cool. Another article that you mentioned is 20 AI Italian startup to keep an eye on. So I don't want to go through that one by one, but I thought we should definitely, consider more the AI wave, which is definitely building. And I think ChatGPT right now is at 10 million users in about 2 months, something like that. So definitely there is something like they're building. So yeah, any prediction about maybe verticals, not startup, but like trends that can be interesting or that you're looking into right now in AI in particular? So I'll start. I have one because I thought it was interesting. So I believe synthetic data, that's definitely something worth looking into. So the problem now is not the model themselves, but actually is the amount of data, specific data that needs to be fed to those models to actually give specific and very critical and insightful outputs. So I think on the data space, I really like, and I would really love to see like people working on that space. And I know there are a few startups in Italy working on that. And so yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on that.
Well, I can tell you that at least a couple of the startups in the top 20 in that list are focused on synthetic data. So you can start from there.
Awesome.
I won't name names. Everybody go read the list and find out who they are. That's a fair point. It's probably part of the broader vertical or horizontal. I don't know how to call it. That's MLOps, and I agree with you. So basically, everything that's the operations around actually creating, testing, validating, putting in production, and using machine learning models and applications and products. So that's a broader problem that's being addressed right now, because in that sense we're probably still, a lot of tooling is missing in order to easily put AI into production, and the fact that ChatGPT, in a sense, is a huge simplification in accessing the capabilities of AI to anybody. Tells a lot about the previous position of anybody using AI. That's difficult. How does it work? How do I use it? And then suddenly, okay, I can talk to an interface and that works. So,
awesome.
It was a huge improvement on the market. So, again, on that one, I mean, the AI is everything. Hence, no, I
can feel you're gonna research more and more like as we go through. So something is gonna come up all the time. So that's gonna be very interesting to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely for sure. But AI is entering into all verticals. AI is an enabler, right? So it's a layer that supports verticals in solving problems.
Good point.
So I don't have a clear answer because I'm seeing it everywhere. So it's about where is AI gonna solve the most painful problems right now.
That's a good point. That's a great
verticals. There are obvious verticals right now, and drugs research. That's a very well-known area where AI is gonna have an impact. Development, software development is emerging as a very interesting area. So empowering development processes with AI. I think that we're gonna see things coming up there because we're gonna change the job world.
Yeah.
So the jobs work is gonna be disrupted by AI. But it's an enabler. It's underlying these sectors of the economy. So that's
awesome.
Why there are answers, so my apologies for that.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for joining. It was a super insightful conversation, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jack. Bye-bye, everybody. See you in a week.